Hi everyone joining in. Welcome back to Spotlight. Introducing Highbeck. Highbeck is a complete make in India leading manufacturer of indoor, outdoor and architectural lights all across India. So Spotlight is a series which is initiated with Highbeck, where we acknowledge lighting designers and spatial designers illuminating designs. Introducing myself, I am architect Himani Ahuja, architectural journalist and a communications specialist. I am a co-founder of One Digital and DesignWorks Asia. Today's guest is really special. Let's welcome him and then I would introduce him. Hi.
Hi, Himani.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good. How are you?
Good. Okay, let me first introduce you and then let's take it forward. Introducing our special guest today, which is Mr. Praveen Thampi. He is the creative director of the Ministry of Light, a master's in illumination technology and an MBA in international business. He is a perfect blend of creativity and innovation at both ends. So he has also won a lot of awards when it comes to his lighting concepts and excellence in lighting design. We welcome you.
Thank you.
Hi. So let's start. Tell us about your journey.
Well, it's a very informal session, right?
Yes.
Okay,
It has to
cool.
be very casual. We want to know everything personal, professional, everything.
Okay, so yeah, it's a little bit of a filmy story where you know when I did my engineering in electronics and communication, and after that, those days the trend was that you do your MBA and get into IT. That was the
Yeah.
trend. I mean, I remember all of our batchmates from electronics to computers to mechanical to civil. Everybody went into IT. Okay, so
Okay.
that was the trend. Unfortunately for us, that year the results came in late. I mean, our exams were finished quite late, and so we couldn't apply for MBA that year. So my dad gave a suggestion that why to waste a year, and instead, there was this course available on masters in lighting technologies.
Okay.
It was called MTech in illumination technology at that point of time. He said, well, why don't you try that out?
Right.
So that's actually how I got into the
The word
lighting field as
lighting.
such.
Yeah.
But interestingly, what happened was when we were doing the course, we had other masters in mechanical engineering and stuff like that, which had a bright future. And there was really, I mean, it was a joke. We were a joke in college. I mean,
Right.
we were a batch of 6 students,
Oh,
and because literally even our professor said there is not much of a scope in lighting, because at that point of time, actually lighting, you had only a tube light and a bulb. That was it.
right. That's true.
So I mean, it is very surprising that lighting was one of the first known technology to mankind, but it was I think around 1895 when the bulb was invented. And till 1995, 100 years,
Yeah.
the only development was the bulb, a sodium vapor lamp, a metal halide lamp, and a tube light. That was it.
Right.
So, yes, I mean, the scope was very minimal, and most of our seniors were kind of, ending up being professors in the same college.
Okay.
So it was more of a, academic kind of a course rather than,
Right.
which would fetch us a job.
Right.
But yeah, we two of us, friend of mine, who was also my batchmate, we thought of venturing ourselves out, and we actually took a train to Mumbai We had a
Okay.
senior in college who was working in Compton Greaves. His name is D.V.R. Shastri, and I believe he's also watching the session today.
Okay. All
So
right.
that's how we landed up in Mumbai. We came for an internship for Compton Greaves in Mumbai. Surprisingly, after the Compton Greaves interview, we landed up seeing the Philips building, went out there, spoke to the security, and actually
Okay.
fixed the interview there. And we got through to Philips as well. So I joined Philips, and my friend joined Crompton.
Oh,
That's
great.
how the whole lighting journey started.
Great.
And yeah, so when we landed in Mumbai, it was again quite interesting. I mean, when we came for the first time, it was, we didn't know anybody in the city. So I remember when I was going back, I tried getting down at Kurla station and I literally couldn't get out of the train.
Okay.
Before we got out, people were getting in. That
Wow.
day I decided that if at all we're coming to Mumbai, there is no way I'm ever going to travel by Mumbai Metro.
Local
So I actually
train.
took my bike from college,
Yeah.
put it on the train, and when we came to Bombay, we actually came with the bike. And
That's
that's how
interesting.
life in Bombay started. And
Great.
even after reaching here, I remember the first day we managed to get an accommodation at YMCA in Colaba.
Right.
When we reached there, it was a 6x4 room with two beds, which is kind of skewed apart. And that was not, we still thought that was fine. Then we saw that there was also luggage of other people who were there. And so we were only
Okay.
allowed to stay there for a week. So we had to literally, find a place to stay because we knew that, that's not a place where we can really stay 6x4. And, we're not used to
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Strangely, we could manage to get a nice accommodation as a paying guest with no owners in a nice mansion in Baikula, very close to where, the Philips office and the Crompton office
That's
were.
actually getting lucky in
Yeah.
Mumbai.
Many people say that, we were lucky to get a nice accommodation like that. And at that time, it was about 2,500 rupees per head and everything covered, including a maid. It was a great accommodation. And that's how,
Wow.
things started in Mumbai.
Great. It's Mumbai does that to people, either you like it too much or you just go away. So I think you settled in quite well and you were lucky enough to get, the right places too. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's also know about your firm. So what was your journey to, founding the Ministry of Light? So how did it start?
Okay. So when I was working with Philips, I never had any kind of thought about starting my own consultancy firm or stuff like that because, at that point of time, the trend was that, most companies gave lighting design as a free kind of solution to sell their products. So it was not a professional practice as such, at least in
Right.
India. So, well, I did quite a good job in, being able to sell innovative designs rather than selling a product at that point of time. So this actually helped in me getting a large audience, a good set of people who could, kind of buy stuff because of the way I was designing product rather than just the product.
Right.
The only thing was at that time I could only design with what is available from Philips because I was working with Philips, and that's one of the reasons why, at one point of time when things were not matching up well with my thought process, I thought of moving out and starting on my own. And yeah, that's how it was actually an overnight decision. It was not a very well thought decision. It was an overnight decision, but I think
That worked well.
it worked well. I mean, I was well settled a week into, when I started my company. I think I had about 3 projects which I bagged in the first week itself, which was more than my salary in Philips. So,
Wow.
it was
That's
good.
that's quite motivating as well, when you start up and then you get certain things which drive you towards your goal. It just adds value. So I think that really worked somehow, though you have to work hard enough to reach a certain stage, but it worked well for you totally. That's what we can see. Now
Yeah.
let's talk about the name, because it's quite interesting and catchy when you hear it, the Ministry of Light. So how did you come up with that?
Well, when I started, the name of the company was Illumania Designs. It
Okay.
stood for Illumination Maniac. That's what I was. And
Okay.
the Ministry of Light was kind of a punchline. And but then what happened was, like I said, when I started, there was not really many lighting design practices in India, professional practices. So we didn't have too many BIS standards also, which actually catered to a lot of great standards to talk about. I mean, if I look
Right.
at BIS standards at that point of time compared to the international standards which are available, there were European standards, British standards, and American standards, which I look forward to. But the Indian standards were not matching up because it wasn't revised at the time. I'm talking about now. Now it's very well up to date, but at that point of
Yeah.
time, it was not. So what we did was we took the best of what's available in UK, what's the best available in Europe, and what's the best available in US, combined all of it, and I started creating my own benchmark standards. And
Okay.
surprisingly, I remember 2004 is when I started. One of my first projects was office for JP Morgan Chase.
Okay.
And this project went on to win an international award for innovative office lighting.
Right.
It was one of my first office projects. And that's when I realized that, okay, what I picked up from all of these three standards ended up being one of the best standards. And that's when we thought, okay, so, I mean, we are putting in benchmark projects. So that's where we thought, okay, in 2008, I actually changed the name from Illumina Designs to the Ministry of Light. So it
Okay.
became from
All
a
right.
punchline to the company name. Because
Yeah.
that's what the
It's
company
just
was known as anyways.
okay. All right. It's just basically going on to the grassroots level as well. Setting standards and then going ahead with everything. So it must be quite a challenging task, to start with, because not many people were involved at that point of time. So great, interesting to know about the Ministry of Light. We also heard some, interesting things about you, which is that you are also somewhat an artist and you take, interest in racing too. What about that? If you can tell us a little about it.
Well, I used to be an artist when I was in school and college. I mean, I think all through my, from first grade to 12th grade, I won the painting competition in college and school. I also
Wow.
won the All India Child Art Exhibition Award, I think in
Okay.
2000, was it, in my 10th grade. So, yeah, I mean, that was it. But after college, I've really not been an artist. But I think all of my artistic talents are put in to lighting design. So
Yeah.
that kind of fulfills all of my, uh, you know, desires
Artistic
to be an
eyes.
artist. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right. And what about racing? How did you develop interest in that?
Oh, I was always fond of driving. I think I started driving when I was 6 years old.
Oh, okay.
My dad used to have a Volkswagen Beetle,
I don't know
and
how right is it when we come to laws. I mean, I
no,
don't
no,
know
no.
how.
I was driving inside
Yeah.
the compound, but it was not that
Right.
I was driving outside. But yeah, I used to drive as early as that, and driving has always been a passion.
Great.
And slowly I developed that. And one of the interesting aspects is also the fact that when I finished my 12th, I actually went and joined the flying school. I
Oh.
thought flying was a great thing to do. So but then my dad kind of hijacked me and put me into engineering, and that's how I got into engineering.
Okay.
And but then in 2008, I actually went and completed my flying course. I have a private pilot's license, PPL.
Oh.
It's not a
Okay.
commercial license, but yeah. So flying and driving are my passions. In fact, I get a lot of ideas when I'm driving.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
I have noticed that all my thinking, innovative thinking that I do is when I'm driving, because it's more like a time travel, you know. So whenever
Yeah.
I'm driving, I kind of go into my thoughts. A lot of times I've seen that two places. One is when I'm in the loo, and second is when I'm driving.
I
Both these
think that's a
times,
common phenomena with a lot of people in the washroom, that they get a lot of
exactly.
negative thoughts.
I,
But yeah,
I, I,
driving is
because I
something.
also do a lot of concept luminaire design other than lighting design.
Yeah.
So a lot of those ideas directly come. I finish my driving, go and do a sketch, or I come out of the loo and make a sketch. That's how things work actually.
Yeah. Harish is mentioning that his Ferrari ride is pending. So I hope that's going to happen soon.
That's in Dubai. I'm stuck in Mumbai for the last 3 months. So usually I spend 15 days in Mumbai and 15 days in Dubai.
Okay.
Right now I'm stuck here for the last 3 months, and I don't know when I'm going to be able to go to Dubai. We have a full setup in Dubai just as in Mumbai. I have
Yeah.
a home there. I have my office. I have everything that's here, the same kind of setup in Dubai. But yeah, right
I've
now,
also read that you started on with Hong Kong, right?
yeah. I actually started in. I told you a week after I started, I had three
Yeah.
projects in hand.
Yeah.
So one of the projects, of course, was JP Morgan, and that's how to meet the client in Hong Kong. I went to Hong Kong, and I ended up setting up an office there.
Okay.
So,
All right.
and initially, the initial days, most of the Asia Pacific headquarters of most of the companies were based in Hong Kong.
Okay.
So, Hong Kong was a good base to get projects, even though most of the projects were in India. They were call centers and BPOs, which were being set up for large multinational companies. So they were
Right.
all being set up in India. But then, yeah, most of the projects came in from Hong Kong.
Okay, all right. Okay, so let's now delve into the topic, which I think everybody is waiting for, which is, the importance of architectural design and lighting design practice in specific and its challenges. So, starting with basics, like what is light for you and what is good lighting according to you?
Okay, so technically, if you want to define light, see, this is very interesting for a lot of people who are from the light. Light is something which we all take for granted.
Right,
But I ask a simple question. I'll ask you, what is light?
right.
Can you define
Light
light?
For me, light is a source of a warm happiness that comes across, because it just adds on value to everything. It glows up everything. So light would
That's
be
very
that.
philosophical.
No,
I'll ask.
that's how it comes across. Coming asking from a journalist and a communication specialist, I would say that.
Well, if you're a communication specialist, I would say light is an electromagnetic wave which
Right,
creates a sensation of vision in your eyes.
right,
It's
exactly.
like your mobile phone wave, microwaves, or any of these waves, but it falls in the visible spectrum between 380 to 780 nanometers. And that's how you see things. Most
Right.
people, other than who's dwelt with lighting, even though they think they know light,
Yeah.
this is one aspect they miss out on.
Right.
So, I mean, technically, that is what is light.
Yeah.
What is good lighting? Well, there are so many quality aspects of lighting. One of the most important aspects is glare. Light is always associated with glare, we all know that. But lighting design is primarily about how you can cut off the glare completely and get the functional aspects of light to make it soothing, and it's good for a space.
Hmm.
So the level of glare again depends on the kind of activity.
Right.
So I mean, for me, the ideal way of looking at this, light without any glare and without any heat is like the perfect kind of lighting.
Okay. All right. Right.
Lighting is not about a light fixture. It is about creating the ambience, but you need to understand light itself
Right.
to how to play around with light.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
this
it's
is,
not just about aesthetics. It's about the
yes.
functionality, the intensity. A lot of things are
A
associated.
lot of things are not, now it's very advanced. I mean, in 2003, there was a discovery that what we call as the physiological aspects of lighting. This is made light very important in our life.
Right.
What it does is, I think you all would have heard about circadian lighting.
Hmm.
what is circadian lighting is nothing but, how light controls the human biological clock. So this was a discovery which was done in 2003. Until then, nobody knew about. For 100 years, nobody knew that light controlled most of the functional aspects of the human body. The light entering your eyes. I mean, you would be surprised to know why a blind person wakes up in the morning. Have you ever wondered?
No, I actually haven't.
Blind people also wake up in the morning, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, the reason being that our eyes receive light in two ways. One is the path which connects to the medulla oblongata, and that's how you see things. And second is where it connects to the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is your biological clock, and that actually controls all of your secretions of the brain. Which is, I mean, you wake up in the morning because melatonin secretion stops. And why does the melatonin secretion stop? Is because of the sun rays which are entering your eyes, which actually suppresses the melatonin and gets you active.
Right.
So most of your body processes are actually controlled by light entering your eyes, and you'll be surprised to know that most of your activities can be controlled with light if you really study. I mean, the study is still on. There are a lot of aspects which we know now, which is why we are insisting on having circadian lighting in office spaces which run 24/7, where you're working against nature. Right. Even a jet lag. A jet lag is nothing but desynchronization of the biological clock, because your brain has not been able to keep track of the sun. So your clock is getting desynchronized. That's what is a jet lag. I mean, that's exactly what happens to people working in a night shift as well.
Exactly.
So that's what it is. Light actually controls the human body. If there is no sun, we die. It's as simple as that.
Right.
So, yeah,
wow,
I mean,
they are quite interesting facts that, really open up when you really talk to someone like that.
Yeah, so lighting is not just about, I mean, there are a lot of aspects to it. One is the people only think light sets the right mood, or, it kind of gives you functionality in terms of I need so much lux, but that's not what lighting is all about. Lighting actually kind of, it takes care of the physiological aspects, it takes care of the biological aspects, it takes care of functionality, and it takes care of mood. There are four important aspects which good lighting has to take care.
Right. Great to know about that. Okay, so let's come to what are the different application areas that you design lighting for?
Oh, so we design lighting for all kinds of areas.
Yeah.
Starting with building facades, malls, hospitals, hotels, building facades, parks, bridges, airports, seaports.
Wow. Okay.
Casinos.
Okay.
Ships. So, tunnels, street lighting, all of it is part of lighting design. So, I mean, it's not just one particular field. I think we touch upon all aspects of life itself.
Yeah. So light is basically everywhere, and so are you then. So
yes, exactly.
Okay. All right. So now, since we are all spending a lot of time, in our interior spaces, I mean, can you elaborate on the role of lighting when it comes to interiors?
Okay. So, like I said, first, fundamentally, you have to look at the functionality of the space.
Right.
So, I mean, depending on whether it is a hospitality environment or a club environment, or whether it's an office environment. So, depending on the kind of application, functionally, you have to look at what best suits the ambience for that space. So, there are defined standards also for that. Now, you have the latest well standards, which talks about all of the functional aspects, along with how an occupant feels within the space. So the well-being of the occupant is now becoming more important because of the physiological aspects of lighting coming into play.
Right.
So, so one is how well light can kind of enhance the interiors. That is one aspect. Right. Second is how well it affects or it enhances the well-being of the occupants in the space. So there are two aspects. So again, if you're looking at a residential lighting or hospitality lighting is very simple. But if you're looking at a far more complicated scenario, like for example, a conference room. Now, conference room has different kinds of activities. You have a general LCD presentation, you have a video conferencing setup, or you have a general meeting going on, or you have a board meeting. All of these kind of require different lighting setting.
Right.
So, for example, a video conferencing setting. Now, for that, it is necessary that all of your facial features are well enhanced. Now, if you see, now this is my house, but I think I have very good lighting here.
Right.
But if you see, all the facial features are well illuminated.
Lit up. Yeah, right.
Lit up. So one is that. Second is another big challenge, which today most of the corporate offices, multinational offices especially, what they face is people with different skin tones.
Okay.
Okay. So now the camera has got a particular white balance and a tungsten balance. So it will not enhance all the skin tones equally. At times, some people get washed out.
Wow. Yeah, that's true.
So that is where now a tunable white lighting system actually plays a role in, enhancing each and every skin tone depending on. So we actually did a project for Google recently. It's a global project for all of their conference rooms across the globe, where they're planning to roll it out, where every skin tone has to be equally enhanced. Kind of no racial discrimination when it comes to lighting.
Wow, I didn't know that existed in design.
So I mean, this is something new that we have recently worked on. Great. So we have now a system where we have understood which color temperature actually enhances each kind of skin tone.
Okay.
Now, that data is already fed into a small processor. So as and when somebody speaks in a large conference, when a person starts speaking, the camera actually focuses onto that person.
Wow. Okay.
So then the skin tone of that person is detected. Automatically, it sends the feedback to the lighting management system, and the color temperature of the lighting changes accordingly.
Wow, that's quite automated.
Yeah. So this is something new that we have recently worked on, and this was a Google project, and now we're looking at rolling this out on a lot of other projects. But like I'm saying, it is one is the basic functionality, and then two is these advanced aspects of one, the well-being, as well as varying. Now, for example, during a VC, whatever is the lighting scene is completely different from what is happening when you have a PowerPoint presentation going on the screen, because you want the screen area to be dark, but the background to be lit up so that the contrast ratio of 3:1 is maintained.
Right, right.
And the rest of the areas are such that you can take notes. It's not totally dark, that kind of a scenario. And when it comes to VC, it's the exact opposite. So that's where, functionality plays a big role when it comes to complex rooms. And I think what you call office lighting is one of the most complicated lighting design field, rather than hospitality this is something which most people don't understand. Most of our clients, in fact, even today, they appoint us basically to design the cafeteria and, those specialized areas to make it look nice.
Yeah.
But what they don't understand is the fundamental aspect is the well-being of the people in the space. So it's actually the open office spaces and the functional office spaces which really require good lighting design, which is very technical. Most people actually don't especially electrical consultants, I'm sorry to say, but do not understand these complex aspects of lighting design. So,
right. So then, it sums up in the fact that a lighting designer needs to have a knowledge of, I think, almost everything of every field, whether it comes to, electrical, whether it comes to art and architecture. I think it's a mix of everything, even physics for that matter. It's a lot involved.
I think it's about 6-7 different fields put together. One has to be good with, of course, physics.
Right.
Biology.
Yeah.
Lighting science. Lighting technology, electronics and electrical.
Wow. Okay.
Even today, this is another thing that, since the advent of LEDs, Luckily, I did my engineering in electronics and communication. Most people who get into lighting are from an electrical background.
Yeah.
Now, actually, it has helped me because I come from a electronics background with a master's in lighting. So that combination has actually worked out better with LEDs coming into play because it's more electronic driven than electrical driven now.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right. Great. Okay. So, I mean, we've understood how important lighting is as per as, whatever that you're telling us. But, even now, there is an issue that people do not understand the importance of a lighting designer or, a lighting consultant in a project. And they lack the knowledge of the importance of such people. So a major chunk of the audience also watching us, would want to know that, what is the difference between a lighting designer or an interior designer, and why should, a lighting designer be hired?
Okay, so you all have heard the kind of this thing which says half knowledge is more dangerous than full knowledge,
Yeah.
So, and lighting having been around for almost over 100 years, everybody thinks that lighting is as simple as putting a lamp
Yeah.
or buying a good light fixture.
Yeah.
So everybody thinks they can do lighting. I mean, if it's something more complicated like an HVAC system, the moment people talk about air conditioning, that's different. But when you say HVAC, people think, okay, fine, this is something which I don't want to get into.
Complicated. Yeah.
Yeah, but when we do lighting, everybody wants to put their hands in it.
Yeah.
It be the client, the architect, the interior designer, the electrical consultant, the AV consultant, everybody wants to put their hands into lighting.
Wow.
So it's a very big challenge as a lighting consultant because you have to not only I've seen electrical consultants get away with a lot of things because nobody interferes into what they do. They just make a BOQ and that's it. But for us, it gets vetted by all of these other stakeholders. So that's where it becomes complicated, and that's because of the simple fact that everybody takes light for granted.
Yeah, I
That's
mean, people
one of the
think that
reasons.
it's something that they could do themselves too. So
Exactly. Well, sometimes you get lucky, and
things
once
fall in
in
place.
yeah, but that's not what professional lighting design practice is. So
Right.
it's about one getting clarity on what needs to be done for a space, and then doing it right.
Right. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, for example, in my mom's house, she doesn't let me touch a single bulb.
Okay.
Because to her, what she has done is the best, and yeah, we just let it be. So, sometimes it gets very personal when it comes to lighting.
Right. Right.
But
Yeah. So, I
because
mean,
of that,
you will
it becomes
get a
even
mixed
more
bunch of
challenging.
clients who, some people allow you to do something, some people don't, and they want to do it themselves, and you can't.
Well, the problem is, especially with lighting design, they appoint a consultant, but then they still bring in their ideas.
Yeah.
So that becomes very difficult.
Right.
And yeah, a lot of times the issue is that most of the interior designers are not kind of accustomed to working with a lighting consultant. I mean, so even though they appoint a lighting consultant, sometimes they don't want to take the advice of a lighting consultant. So this becomes a little bit of a challenge.
But I'm sure that the industry has evolved over the past few years.
It has, but still, I know, I think almost in all projects that we work, we end up having some kind of an argument. Of course, constructive arguments, but we do have arguments, and that happens because of the way, not much with architects, but more with interior designers, because architects still understand a little bit of the technicalities of it. Interior designers, because they come from a creative space, it becomes less technical. So, making you understand why this has to be done becomes a little difficult sometimes.
Right.
I mean, no offense to any of the interior designers, but yeah, that is a fact.
Yeah, okay. All right. Do you see any evolving trends in lights also? Like we have color of the season and everything when it comes to interior design. But what about lights? What are the current trends that are going on when it comes to lighting?
Oh, there is a lot of new trends going on in lighting. I mean, lighting is the future. I mean, of course, it has been one of the oldest technologies known to mankind, but with LEDs coming in, everything has changed. Okay. Today, in the future, I think a street light will not be just a street light. It'll also be something which will be an intelligence gathering device, which can also do traffic management.
Yeah.
You know, so the possibilities are limitless now, especially with advanced lighting management systems also coming in.
Exactly.
Even your internet streaming tomorrow will not be a Wi-Fi system; it could be a Li-Fi system, where your mobile phone will be getting in streaming in data through the light source. You know,
Wow.
light
Yeah.
also can transmit data, and that has already been done with certain companies, and I think that's the future.
Right.
So, of course, today we are talking about tunable lights and circadian lighting and all of that.
Yeah.
But apart from that, we have recently done a project where, the lighting sensor in itself takes data not only in terms of occupancy, but it also creates a heat map. It tells you how many number of people are actually in that space.
Wow. Okay.
It also calculates humidity within a space. That data goes and it feeds into the building management system, which in turn controls the HVAC system. So it can adjust the HVAC system based on humidity data as well as the occupancy data, because there is heat radiation between the body and surroundings. Usually an HVAC system does not calculate if there are one person or 100 people in the space. But here, the lighting sensor can actually detect the heat map produced from each of those individuals, send that data to the VMS system, and in turn adjust the HVAC system. The occupancy of a space can also help in controlling the, if you have a conference room management system which says, okay, this conference is scheduled from so and such time to such time, and that gets adjusted accordingly. The daylight sensors will also be able to control the roller blinds, which will adjust the blinds based on the daylight availability as well as the glare. So, for example, if you have a full glazed office building, in the morning, when the sun is coming in from here, you have direct glare. So the blinds are fully down. As the sun rises, based on these sensors, the screens keep going up.
Yeah.
So, and in the evening on the west side, again, as the sun sets, the screen keeps coming down. So throughout the day, you are able to get full, views of, and you're able to maximize the utilization of daylight, which with a standard roller blind, you're not able to do, because what everybody does, they pull the blinds down in the morning and nobody then remembers to put it up back.
Yeah.
But when you have an automated system, which controls this based on the daylight availability, then that makes a difference.
That's an interesting interface. Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Any trends that you think are irrelevant? I mean, you don't know why they actually came across when it comes to lighting?
What do you mean irrelevant? I didn't really get the question.
I mean, any trend which you thought was over the top and it was not required, and people are still using it and still putting that up.
Oh, one of the big issues which I face with lighting as such, most of the big companies also, they define lighting in terms of only the lux levels on the tabletop. But that is a very old standard. Why we used to measure lux levels on the tabletop was earlier when we had activities, like for example, on a table we used to do paperwork and stuff like that. So tabletop illumination was important. Today we have a laptop and a screen, so your task has moved from horizontal to vertical. Okay, so when that has happened, the whole illumination has now to be defined on the vertical plane and in the ceiling, because when you have a large open office space, your visual environment is your ceiling and the verticals. So that has to be illuminated. This is something which most people still don't understand. Everybody will say, "Kitna lux level mil raha hai?"
Yeah.
So lighting doesn't actually move from illuminance-based design to luminance-based design. So it is how you have a well-balanced luminances from different surfaces. That is what matters.
Yeah. Great.
So,
all right. Thank you for telling us about this. It was really important. Now let's move on to your projects. I think a visual understanding of a certain amount of projects would aid in the audience to understand the importance of light, and what are the challenges, and what are the successful implementations that you've done. So I'll start with those. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, this was the TCS Iruseri campus in Chennai. It was
Yeah.
it was done 2005, 2006. Took us about 10 years. It's one of the largest IT campuses in India. It
Right.
was designed by Carlos Hott, was a famed architect from Europe. And we did the entire interior lighting, facade and landscape lighting for this international awards.
Okay.
And yeah, it was at that time it was a gold rated green building.
Okay. Great.
It's a 6.5 million square feet campus. Yeah, these are all pictures of that.
Yeah. Okay. This is basically the Taj. Right. So this was
Yeah,
actually,
so
yeah.
this is the Taj Hotel, which we did for their centenary celebrations, 100 years.
Okay.
So this lighting has actually survived 3 bomb blasts and terrorist attacks and all of that.
Wow.
Even when during the 2008 attack, when the dome was bombed, I think the lighting
Right.
still survived. It was just very recently that I think they've now started replacing all of these metal halide lights with LEDs, but somehow they've not been able to match the color temperatures exactly the same. It's looking a little amberish, orangish. But yeah, this is a very classic lighting, and this was one of my first facade lighting projects.
Oh,
And
okay.
there were no elevation drawings available because it's a 100 years old hotel. So I actually literally had to, climb on top of Gateway of India and click a picture, and
Wow. Okay.
actually paint out. This was done 2003, 2004, and that's when we didn't have Photoshop and stuff like that. So we actually
Yeah.
painted the lighting and showed it, and the whole project was executed in about 15 days. Design to
Okay.
execution was 15 days. It was a fast track project because they had to finish it before their centenary celebrations.
Wow. Okay. All right. This one is
This is Raja Club Exotica in Mud Island.
okay.
It's done in 2005. It's a lot of landscape, a large landscape project.
Okay.
This was Mahindra's corporate office. Here, what is interesting is we use this task lighting concept. This is one of the floors where all of these, students from Ivy colleges come to work for Mahindra for 2 years on a contract.
Okay.
So they wanted a specialized lighting, which is world class for them. What we've done is an intelligent task lighting based concept, where every individual is able to adjust lighting to their requirement,
Right.
and the task light becomes the primary source of light. So you don't have to, unlike a typical office where you have these 2x2 fixtures or suspended up and
Right.
down lighters. Your task light becomes the primary source of illumination, which takes care of the vertical illumination, and it has got an upward component which throws light into the ceiling. So the ceiling is also well illuminated. So once that is done, then you can play around with the ceiling. You don't really have to, look at what is done usually in an office space. Yeah.
Great.
But strangely, on that project, we did the full interiors. This one
Oh,
is the only
okay.
project where we've done full interiors along with lighting. We called it the LG7 interiors at that point of time. We also
Okay.
used an acoustics consultant where we made the office very transparent. So we ensure that all of the cabins do not have a door, but
Okay.
still it is acoustically treated in such a way that when people are talking inside the cabin, nothing can be heard outside.
Wow.
So
That's
it is a door without a door using acoustics. So it's not only lighting, it's also a little bit of acoustics that we play around with.
yeah. So that's basically intelligent design that is coming into play.
Yeah.
Right. This one.
Yeah, this is the Northern Trust Bank in Pune, which we recently completed, which was also one of the large scale, human-centric circadian lighting systems. Like you see, what this represents is the tunable white LEDs can actually change the color temperature from morning to evening.
Right.
So on the left, what you see is the morning scene, then you see the afternoon scene, and the right, what you see is an evening scene. So it's kind of, creates or simulates the daylight outside exactly as it is in the inside of the space.
Right. Great.
This is Burjuman Mall in Dubai. So we did the entire. This project has not yet been executed. It is still stuck because of budget constraints. Dubai is going through a slump at the moment. So it is the entire interiors have already been done. We did the interior refurbishment. This is the exterior facade and landscape, not yet executed. The simulation image.
Okay.
These are part of. Is that the full picture or is it just
Yes.
that? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So this is the Adani's corporate office in Ahmedabad. We recently completed this. This was the entrance atrium where we had a innovative decorative architectural lighting, which was custom made from Sweden.
Right. Okay. This
This
was
is the facade lighting of the same building. This is Bayer's corporate office in Thane, which we recently completed.
okay.
I think you can just quickly. Yeah, this was Mahalakshmi Race Course, if you all know. This is the first night racing facility in India. And this is currently the only night racing facility in India. And yeah, we've done this as per international standards with very good vertical illumination. And we used a combination of LEDs and middle highlights, which actually enhances the color rendering index much better than most of the other spaces.
Yeah. Right. Okay. All right. And this is the last one.
This is again the same, the interiors, the central spine at TCS Siruseri in Chennai. So it's a large steel structure which is running about a kilometer long. And this project, in fact, had an international competition for selecting the lighting consultant, and we won the competition. It's a very complicated structure which we have actually built with tube lights. We've used a lot of C5 tubes to light this up.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you for explaining everything in a thorough process. Summing it up, we surely think now people would have understood the importance of a lighting designer. Whether it's an interior project or an architecture project, I think light sums up and adds on to everything. Thank you for coming in Spotlight and showering light on such an important subject for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.